Everything is about to change for this Miami Heat organization as brand new information has come out suggesting a mutual interest in multiple time scoring champion Kevin Durant and this Miami Heat organization, while also hearing some foreshadowing from team president Pat Riley on how this offseason could be a different one. I'll break down all of that on this episode of Heat Digest and really why Heat fans should be fired up going into this offseason and next season, as it seems like this Heat team is going to be back on the page of competitiveness. We'll break down all of that on this episode, so let's get right to it and not waste any time breaking down more Kevin Durant updates on this Miami Heat organization, because this Miami Heat team, as we all know, was involved in trade conversations this past trade deadline. Now, this past offseason, last year's offseason, was not very productive. Outside of the NBA draft, the Miami Heat did not do a whole lot, bringing in Alec Burks as really the only new addition to this Miami Heat team. Now, through the first half of the season, things were decent. They weren't great. The Jimmy Butler saga had fully kicked off after the Pat Riley comments telling him to, quote, keep his mouth shut. And then everything just fully blew up. Jimmy Butler forced his way out, told teams not to trade for him if they weren't XYZ teams. And then obviously it boiled down to the fact that the Miami Heat seemed like they called Phoenix. It seems like they called Golden State, as well as a few other teams looking to move Jimmy Butler for all of the goods they could get back. Now, obviously, Butler ends up in Golden State. Andrew Wiggins, De'Vion Mitchell, as well as Kyle Anderson all end up in Miami. But it seems like there was massive conversations going on with Phoenix, Arizona, and the Phoenix Suns in order to move Jimmy Butler to the Phoenix Suns in exchange for possibly Kevin Durant, as well as other possible assets, not only coming from the Heat, but coming from the Phoenix Suns and possibly even a third team. Now, if that were the case, how good would the Miami Heat then get? Well, Kevin Durant changes your franchise. That's without a doubt. Despite already being 36, 37 years of age, he is still Kevin Durant, one of the best scorers of the basketball to ever play the professional game of basketball. And now going into this offseason, after all of the speculation and all of the drama from the NBA trade deadline on involving both the Miami Heat organization as a whole and the Phoenix Suns organization, it seems like there's a wild chance that Kevin Durant not only is going to be available, but that there could be mutual interest between Durant and this Miami Heat organization. Now, credit to 5 Reasons Sports on Twitter for posting this and really dropping a bombshell on NBA Twitter, as this caused a lot of waves. And you'll understand why when we break down the tweet. It goes on to say, everything I've heard is there is mutual interest between the Heat and KD. That doesn't mean a trade will get done, but that's one superstar, he still is, who hasn't crossed the Heat off his list because of aversion to their, quote, culture. Now, 5 Reasons Sports put this tweet out on May 10th, just 2 days ago. And like I said, it was a bombshell. People were going nuts. It seemed like there was a lot of conversation, not only around other big-name superstars, but specifically Kevin Durant and how he could end up in Miami and really what that would mean for this Miami Heat team. Now, if Durant were to land in Miami, we all know it would not be a cheap price to pay, as Kevin Durant went to the Phoenix Suns for a ransom, and I mean a king's ransom from the Brooklyn Nets. When the Phoenix Suns and Matt Ishbia called the Brooklyn Nets and said, I want Kevin Durant, and they said, sure, it's going to cost everything. They were not kidding. Now, in exchange, if you guys don't remember the actual trade that got Durant to Phoenix, Arizona, he was at the time a part of the Brooklyn Nets, and in exchange, the Phoenix Suns got Kevin Durant as well as TJ Warren, and then gave up Mikal Bridges, Cameron Johnson, Juan Pablo Valet, as well as 7 different draft picks, whether they were theirs or ones they had acquired from other teams via trade. 7 other draft picks, so a total of 10 different assets going to the Brooklyn Nets in exchange for TJ Warren as well as Kevin Durant. And there were 2 other teams involved because this was too big of a trade to make it a 2-team deal. Jay Crowder ended up in Milwaukee, and then the Pacers got George Hill, Serge Ibaka, Jordan Newar, as well as 3 future second-round picks from Milwaukee and cash considerations from Brooklyn. This was a doozy of a trade from top to bottom, involving all teams considered and all parties involved. This was a massive trade, and it was a blockbuster trade. Massive headlines, massive moving pieces, a large renovation in the NBA, as a lot of moving pieces were on the move, and they were big names. Mikal Bridges ended up in Brooklyn, ended up going to New York with the Knicks. Obviously, Durant went from Brooklyn to Phoenix, and now things didn't work out there after 2 years. And it just seems like, despite this massive trade, it did not work for the Phoenix Suns as well as the Brooklyn Nets. And now, where do these teams go? Well, with Phoenix and Kevin Durant, and these mutual interests between Kevin Durant and the Miami Heat, after not getting the trade done at the NBA trade deadline this past year, could they rehash it this offseason and possibly get a trade done in order to get Kevin Durant down to Miami? Is there a possibility? Absolutely. And even yes, there is a possibility. And with Pat Riley currently at the helm, who we've broken down before, and how he's not retiring anytime soon, saying that the new 80 is the new 60. He's going to be in this position for a long time, and I don't think he's going to give it up anytime soon until he physically has to. And that is my genuine opinion. Now, we broke down in a previous video on Heat Digest a few of the quotes from Pat Riley's postseason press conference. And in doing so, we left out one of the major quotes because a video like this we knew was coming, where Heat Nation, once again, who we quoted on the last video, highlighting all of those quotes from the postseason press conference from Pat Riley, also mentioned this one. And again, Heat versus Haters on Twitter, Heat Nation for the title, or for the actual username. Pat Riley on adding an aging superstar. Quote, and again, this is from team president Pat Riley. Quote, players like LeBron and others that have played into their mid to late 30s and produced at a high level can help teams win championships. I'm not against adding that. And that is the end of the quote from team president Pat Riley, someone who did not make a lot of moves last offseason. Like we mentioned earlier in the video, only new addition in the sense of outside of the NBA draft was Alec Burks. Now, obviously, the Heat did a great job in the NBA draft. But to go out there and acquire all of these young guys, again, first-year players, whether they be on two-way contracts or, again, freshly drafted and on a rookie contract, you don't really expect them to be otherworldly different outside of players like Victor Wembanyama and possibly even Cade Cunningham and even others. It's a very small pool of players. When you do get that draft pick, you anticipate them to entirely flip around your franchise. Now, the Heat obviously have gone away from that idea because they're not getting a pick in the top 10, let alone the top 15, even this up-and-coming draft, because of their ability to get into the play-in and even into the playoffs as a 10 seed. It seems like they're going to have to go out there and make some drastic trades in order to improve their team this offseason. And there's going to be a lot of options. Obviously, Giannis, Kevin Durant, as well as the entirety of the free agency market, a bunch of other names like Zion Williamson and others that we haven't even mentioned possibly on the trade market this offseason. Now, after this tweet, even Sam Amico went on to tweet this article, report Kevin Durant open to getting traded to the Miami Heat, where his entire article, he basically breaks down what has happened to Phoenix and the Kevin Durant tenure in Phoenix, as well as what happened to Jimmy Butler at the NBA trade deadline, and really how Kevin Durant could be open to joining this Miami Heat team. We broke down in the past, again, on this channel, about how Bam Adebayo and Kevin Durant do have the same agent, and that could be a significant factor when the decision actually comes to being made, and how it could entice Durant to land in Miami. Now, you saw the video, or the clip in the video to start this video, Durant shooting around with Bam Adebayo playing defense for Team USA, and Coach Eric Spoelstra sitting there just spectating, viewing, watching these guys work. These guys have been connected in one way or another, whether it's All-Star games, the Team USA. Eric Spoelstra is one of the best coaches in the league. He has been for a long, long time. And over the entirety of the duration of the NBA, he's up there and for one of the best coaches to ever do it. And with that, Kevin Durant could want to go play for someone in Eric Spoelstra who he's witnessed on a first-hand basis. Again, whether it be an All-Star game or a Team USA scrimmage or games in itself over the summer, it seems like there could be a connection not only to players, but as well as the coaching staff, where he could want to buy in. Now, in response to this quote from 5 Reasons Sports, the one and only Barry Jackson, Flash Sports Buzz on Twitter, goes on to tweet, and obviously he is a beat writer for the Miami Heat, someone we cite on this channel regularly. He goes on to tweet in response to this 5 Reasons Sports tweet, saying, question is whether their assets that they're comfortable trading for him will be surpassed by Minnesota or someone else. This is not like Giannis, where you're giving them a choice of everything. And Barry has a very good point here. Teams like Minnesota, as well as an ample amount of others, are going to be in on the conversations involving Kevin Durant because he is still Kevin Durant. There's no way around it. Despite him being 37, 38, 30, however old he is, I understand you can label him as an aging veteran. That does not take away from the overall skill set he still does maintain, and the overall production he can still give a team on a night-to-night basis. Now, Minnesota is going to be a significant factor because they do have a lot of assets. But this Miami Heat team has a lot of very good young players with a lot of potential and upside that could be used to sway a trade in order to go out and land someone like Kevin Durant from the Phoenix Suns. Durant right now is in the third of his 4-year contract with the Phoenix Suns. And again, this is still the contract that he was given back with the Brooklyn Nets because they took care of him. In order to go out and get Kevin Durant, they paid him. And that's why the price to go out and trade for him from the Phoenix Suns that we broke down earlier was so steep and so just expensive. Now, Durant would be in his final year of his contract next season. So if the Heat were to go out and trade for him, they would be getting 1 year of eligibility unless they chose to extend him in the Miami Heat franchise with a new contract, which would be very, very interesting. Not only to see, one, if Pat Riley and the rest of this Heat organization would be willing to extend an aging veteran, but as well as what would that price be if they were to extend him? It's a very interesting conversation. Obviously, Durant has been very, very good. It didn't work in Phoenix playing alongside players like Devin Booker and Bradley Beal as well as others. But again, you could make the argument that situation was never going to work. The amount of offense, the lack of defense, the overall lack of culture, if you will, and the idea that, yes, say that team copy and paste was in Miami, it still goes differently because of the coaching, because of the organization, because of the culture, and the overall established, really, again, culture that would be put not only in the locker room, but in the training facility, but on the hardwood every single night, where defense is going to be at the forefront and one of the most important things that goes into the game plan, regardless of what the matchup may look like or what is going on in the situational battle. Now, for this Miami Heat team, again, like we mentioned earlier, a lot of young assets, as well as players like Andrew Wiggins and others who maintain a good amount of value because of the upside they maintain despite the age, as well as also players like Jovic, Jaquez, Pelle Larsson, all these young guys that are extremely, extremely young with, again, a whole career out in front of them as they are young into their 20s, 21, 23. They have a lot of career out in front of them. And up to this point in their career, they've shown great upside and great abilities up to this point with just a small amount of experience. Let me know down below why you guys think this is a good or a bad idea for the Miami Heat, and if you would be involved in trades for Kevin Durant this offseason if you were Pat Riley. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys on the next one.